All right, let's talk about a health trend that is absolutely everywhere: intermittent fasting. You've heard about it, maybe you've even tried it. But what does the science actually say? Today, we're going to cut right through all that hype and look at the real evidence. So, this is the big question, isn't it? It's really at the heart of this whole conversation. For decades, we have been obsessed with what we're eating: carbs, fats, proteins. But what if that's only half the story? A ton of research is now suggesting that when we eat could be just as important, maybe even more so. To really get to the bottom of this, we're not just going to go off of blog posts or what we've heard. We are diving deep into a major scientific review from 2017, published in the Annual Review of Nutrition. The scientists who wrote this had the same goal we do: to sift through all the noise and see what the actual human studies tell us. So let's get into it. First things first, let's make sure we're all on the same page. What even is intermittent fasting? Well, the scientific definition is actually super simple. It just means you are voluntarily choosing not to eat or drink for certain periods of time. That's it. This isn't about starving yourself. It's about creating a structured pattern of eating and, well, not eating. Okay, and here's where things start to get a little more complex. The term intermittent fasting isn't just one single thing. It's really more of an umbrella term that covers a few very different approaches. And each one has its own rules and, as you'll see, its own effects. So let's look at the three main types they cover in this review. First up, you've got alternate day fasting. This is pretty intense. One day, you eat normally. The next day, you eat 0 calories. Then there's modified fasting. You probably know this one as the 5-2 diet. Here, you're not doing a total fast, but you're seriously cutting your calories down to about 25% of your normal intake on 2 days a week. And finally, the one that's probably the most popular right now: time-restricted feeding. This is where you just eat all your meals within a specific window each day, like the famous 16-8 method, where you fast for 16 hours and eat during an 8-hour window. All right, so we know the different flavors of fasting, but the million-dollar question is, do any of them actually work? Let's get to the real meat of the review: what happened when they put these diets to the test in controlled human trials. This is where we separate what people say happens from what the data shows. And right away, you see a really clear difference. Take that intense alternate day fasting. Yeah, it led to some weight loss, but there was a huge catch. The people in the studies reported being extremely hungry, and that hunger apparently never really went away. That makes it a really, really tough plan for anyone to stick with long term. Modified fasting, on the other hand, looked a lot more promising. Most of the trials showed significant weight loss, and people reported way fewer negative side effects. It just seemed much more sustainable for the average person. But here comes the big reality check, and this is maybe the most important takeaway. When the researchers stacked intermittent fasting up against a good old-fashioned continuous calorie-cutting diet, it wasn't a magic bullet. This quote says it all. Fasting is a great tool to help you restrict calories, but it didn't offer some superior metabolic advantage. It was another effective way to get to the same place, but it wasn't necessarily a shortcut. So what about that super popular time-restricted feeding? You know, the 16-8 method. Well, back in 2017, the review found a pretty big gap in the research. Animal studies looked really promising, but the human data just wasn't there yet. For example, one study they looked at had people skip breakfast for 6 weeks, and they found no real benefits for weight or blood sugar control compared to the group that just ate normally. So the jury was very much still out on that one. This all raises a really fascinating question. If fasting isn't just a magic trick for cutting calories, what else could be going on inside our bodies? Let's take a look at the cool biological reasons why it might be working. So researchers have proposed this kind of powerful chain reaction. When you start an intermittent fasting plan, it doesn't just change your calorie count. It also seems to have a big influence on 3 key areas: your body's internal clocks, your circadian rhythms, the trillions of tiny bacteria living in your gut, and even your lifestyle, like your sleep patterns. The idea is that by nudging all these systems in the right direction, fasting can improve how your body regulates its metabolism, which could, down the line, lower your risk for chronic diseases. Let's focus on those circadian rhythms for a second, because this is just wild. Think about it like this. Your body has 2 kinds of clocks. You've got the master clock up in your brain, and it basically syncs up with the light and dark cycles of the day. But then you have all these peripheral clocks in your organs, your liver, your muscles, your fat tissue. And you know what their main cue is? Food. So when you eat a big meal late at night, your brain clock is screaming it's nighttime, go to sleep, but you're telling your organ clocks, hey, it's daytime, time to work. This mismatch can throw your whole metabolism out of whack. Fasting might help get all those clocks ticking in sync again.
Okay, we've gone through the different types, the evidence we have, and some of the really cool theories about how it all works. So, what's the bottom line here? What does the science from this big review really tell us to take home?
Let's just break it down really simply. First, pretty much any of these fasting plans can help you lose some weight. That seems clear. Second, while the results are promising, we still need a lot more research on humans. Third, and this is the big one, fasting is not a proven shortcut that's better than standard dieting for weight loss. Fourth, for most healthy adults, these approaches seem to be pretty safe with few negative side effects. And finally, we still have a lot of unanswered questions about the long-term effects and how fasting plays with other parts of our lives, like sleep and exercise. And that really leaves us with this powerful question, which the paper itself poses. Maybe the answer isn't these extreme, complicated fasts. Maybe it's just about prolonging the natural fast we all do every night while we sleep. Could something as simple as just not eating for a little bit longer overnight be an easy and effective way to improve public health on a massive scale? The science is still unfolding, but man, that is an exciting thought to end on.